Hello, everybody. Welcome to Feedback for the week of May 9th, 2012. Today, we're going to talk open world games and you. Welcome, everybody, to the show. We're going to start off today with a new segment that we're tentatively calling, at this moment, 10 words or less. And here's how it works. I'm going to give you guys a topic, and you have 10 words to answer what it is that you want to say about this topic.
I think I understand.
Makes sense.
We'll see. I feel like it's something the audience will probably respond to in a positive manner, but we don't know yet, so we're trying it
Fingers
out.
crossed.
And
I'm
if
gonna
you
ignore the
guys
rules.
like it, yeah. By 10, you mean I'll say whatever the hell I want?
pretty much.
I love that game. I love it. So 10 words or less for today. A fan question. T. Timberwolf. It's Timberwolf spelled a little differently because there's a lot of Timberwolves on the internet. He or she says, if you guys could live in any open world game, which would it be and why? Nicole, your answer, please.
I would live in whatever village Animal Crossing takes place in, and I would just have koala neighbors and we'd be best friends.
Okay.
And
Two
get high
things.
off eucalyptus.
We missed this perspective last week. We didn't have it at all.
No.
Nobody had a koala answer last week for any question.
No.
Two, I also love how even though this is the first time we've done this ever, I feel like we're not going to adhere to the 10 words at all.
Yeah.
But it's still fun to
We're
call it that,
learning
right?
still, though.
Yeah.
You know, the first time you make a few mistakes.
It's
Second
fun.
time's going to get better.
Okay, all right. So,
Hopefully.
Steve, 10-ish words or less. What's your answer?
I wouldn't live in any video game world. I thought about it, and number one, almost
Way
all
over 10
video game
words.
worlds would be too violent. And secondly,
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing?
even if I lived in Animal Crossing, it would be too annoying.
Oh, that's true, though.
Yeah.
Because of why? Because you hate animals?
Number one, because I hate animals.
You hate crossing
Number
things.
two, because I mean, you gotta cut your grass and make sure, and then you got people sending you letters asking for things. And
So,
I don't
basic
I'm not-
human
Interaction.
thing.
Basic interaction with
Okay.
humans and
But
and
koalas.
koalas is required in Animal Crossing, and that's what I'm against.
All right. That's a good answer.
1,000 words.
Also, I
you
wouldn't
said?
live in SimCity either. I thought about this very hard.
Yep.
Because if they cut taxes, you will regret this.
And if the plumbing line isn't connected to your block of residential area,
Yeah,
Screw
what am I
you're
going to do
effed.
then? And whoever connects the plumbing, I
Yeah.
don't want to pain in the ass.
And also what we've learned is that no matter how much effort you put into building that city, at some point a natural disaster will appear and
Or
just
ghosts.
destroy everything, or
Godzilla.
ghosts and destroy everything. Yeah. All right. That's all smart. Those are very smart answers.
He thought
Surprising.
about it.
I really thought about
Yeah,
this.
I
very
can tell.
hard.
Wow. Donnell, what about you?
I thought about this question too, very hard. And I have the perfect game.
Leisure Suit Larry.
No,
Because it's
even
part
better.
of the Donnell zone.
Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball 2. Am I right, fellas?
I take it back.
Oh,
Oh my
my
God.
God. Look at that.
With the
wanted
big
that
old, hey Nicole.
Yeah, that's...
I think it's called
They had a
jiggle
big-
physics is
I
what
think
you're
so.
looking for
They
there.
actually
They have,
move
like,
independently of each other,
a
like
pool.
left, right.
They climb on trees. They play volleyball. They don't mess with you.
There's
You
a-
just sit there, relax,
whale,
and enjoy
inflatable
this
whale.
paradise. So that's the world I would live in.
I like that.
All I remember is not being able to find the right present for the right person, and then giving up after 15 minutes. I'm like, what am I doing?
Can't we just play volleyball in your thong again? Why am I trying to buy this present for you?
Seriously.
Well, we've obviously moved away from not only the 10 words or less, but also from the open world aspect. But that is a good answer. So now that we're just saying whatever the hell we want, I think I'd probably want to live in Saints Row the Third, just because if that game taught me anything, it's that no matter how white, because my character was like this pale, he was this Aryan, not representative of their ideals necessarily, but aesthetically, the most Aryan human being you've ever met in your life. And you could still be that, and you're still able to parachute into a penthouse and shoot up mobsters and bang hookers while Kanye West's Power is playing in the background.
Yeah.
And I want to live in a world where the whitest dude on the planet can do that anytime he wants.
See, I thought you already did.
No, that is... that is not what Road Rules was, Steven. All right,
Road Rules?
That was
Wasn't
season
like
11,
that?
bro. I was season 10. We rode on camels and learned how to tan leather.
Nice.
And we made dirham.
Fun
Yeah, but I went to
times.
Africa and their hash is great. Like they make really good breakfast hash. Let's talk about video games.
Yes.
We were going to have a much larger discussion about open world games in general. However, yesterday there was a ton of news leaked, so that way we can report on it. It was leaked.
Wink, wink.
But a ton of news leaked about the new Elder Scrolls Online game. So I do want to spend a little bit of time touching on what I assume will be the biggest selling game of whenever the hell it comes out for at least that month. So, Nicole and Steve, I know you guys kind of both dug deep on this, so we'll start with you, Nicole. What information do we have about the Elder Scrolls game?
So it was officially announced a few days ago, and then leaked information started coming out for it. So what we know is Elder Scrolls Online was revealed, or will be revealed, in the June issue of Game Informer. Takes place over all of Tamriel. You have Morrowind, you have Skyrim, you have whatever other continents are in there. It will be developed by ZeniMax Online Studios. It is set a millennium before Skyrim, so 1,000 years before anything that you've done in Skyrim games. The main enemy, or I don't know if it's going to be the main enemy or if it's going to be just kind of like a force in the game, is the Daedric Prince, Molag Bal, and he, King of Rape. Is what he is.
Yep,
the King
of Rape.
King of Rape.
All right.
What a title.
There's a lot of Daedric princes. They chose that one.
Yep.
So
I enjoy his mace.
he's the mace. Is
Is that a
thematic in the
euphemism
game.
for something, or
Yeah.
like, you
he-
literally enjoy his
he
weapon?
enjoys
the
his-
mace
his,
of Molag Bal. I use it in Skyrim the whole time.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah. So 3 factions. It's going to be a lion, a bird of prey, and a dragon. So what we know is that from the leaked information, we know that the northeastern Ebonheart Pact are the Nords, Dark Elves, and the Aragonians, and the southerly Aldemari Dominion is the High Elves, Wood Elves, and the Khajiits. And then the northwesterly Daggerfall Covenant are the Bretons, and the Red Guards, and the Orcs. So the game's going to be 3 factions against each other. It's going to focus a lot on PvP. I assume there'll be PvE, but they haven't detailed that. And, I mean, from the leaked information, it's super disappointing to say it, but it sounds like dragons in this game are just not going to happen.
Right. And that makes
Which-
you sad. If
Why?
they put koalas in the game, would you feel better, though?
I would feel so much better.
Okay.
Nice
That's something
little
I'm sure they can
replacement.
address.
Not confirmed.
Yeah.
So,
But confirmed in your heart. It's a confirmed desire that you have.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we obviously they announced the game a couple days ago, so people were aware of it, and then obviously the details were leaked yesterday. One of the things I saw that people were very concerned about is that ZeniMax Online is not. They have never made another game. This was created to make this particular game. People were concerned about that, but I think that Bethesda is a very smart company, and I'm sure what they did when creating this company was take the people that would be that currently worked on whatever it is they were doing and said, you're probably right for this type of project, so we're going to build this team on the side. I think they're like creating some all-star team of people, because we talked about this. Like, my 200-hour Skyrim experience was my MMO experience in my mind, even though there were no multiplayer. Like, it wasn't massively multiplayer, but I think the only reason that they'd move forward with a game of this magnitude is if they had the right people in place and they felt like they could actually
Right
craft
model.
this world that people would be into. But I know you were a little concerned about this information.
To speak on your first point, I mean, they started developing it in 2007. So it's not as if, they've obviously put a lot of time into it, and they're experts at making games. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but from all the details that leaked, it really just sounds to me like another MMO. Like, it's third person, it's got the taskbar at the bottom of the screen.
Cartoony graphics were the biggest bummer for me.
Yeah, the
Yep.
graphics look like, I don't know, somewhere around World of Warcraft to
Kingdom of Amalur.
Yeah, Kingdom of Amalur to Guild Wars, like somewhere between World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2 is where I'm seeing this, and it doesn't excite me. I love the Elder Scrolls games, but MMOs and RPGs are such different kinds of games that I don't know how you can get an RPG feel into an MMO. And so I don't think it's going to feel like an Elder Scrolls game. I think it's going to feel like something
what do you
else.
mean? Because WoW is an MMORPG.
PG,
Right.
yeah.
SWTOR is an
Okay,
MMORPG.
here's the example that I give with WoW. I played WoW for about 6 to 8 months, and I played about 4 or 5 hours a day, and I couldn't tell you a single thing about the story behind World of Warcraft, because that's not what MMOs are about.
Well, with SWTOR, I would say the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I know everything about my story.
Although it could be
Right.
argued that SWTOR is definitely more of a single player mass. It's a weird kind of amalgamation of an MMO and a single player RPG.
Very
and-
strong narrative.
Yeah, yeah.
No matter how you play it.
Also, I think with SWTOR, at least in my experience with SWTOR, it's that although it was set in a different time period, emotionally I already had a connection to that type of story, and so I was more apt to pay attention to what characters were saying. Whereas Warcraft, like the first 15 hours of Warcraft, I was like, must read all dialogue, and that.
Right.
Then eventually I was like, don't care, just need to try to get a bigger sword.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Just need to find more bear teeth.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all.
yeah.
Exactly, because like in WoW, it was like a bunch of text, and usually I would just say, whatever, I'll accept. I wasn't really interested into the story. But nowadays, I see a lot of MMOs, especially with Guild Wars 2 and SWTOR, is that they're using more cinematic ways to tell their stories so that you'll keep the player interested into the story.
Right.
When I played the Guild Wars 2, I was like understanding the story. I was understanding why I was doing this certain quest. And of course, you're going to have those quests where it's like collect 15 grass greens.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I mean, you have to have some sort of grind.
right? And that's probably going to be in Elder Scrolls Online. But I think the story is going to be fine because of the technology that we have today. It's going to definitely bring across the
If they
story.
can learn from BioWare's narrative in SWTOR and kind of the way Guild Wars, because I played the Guild Wars beta weekend a weekend ago, and I learned so much about the lore and the characters and what's going on just by playing. There wasn't any reading at all.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think there's definitely a strong story there.
Right.
So if they can combine where MMOs are going now, then I think they're set.
Right.
But at the same time, if they've been working on it for 5 years and it's set to come out next year, how much can they apply what is coming out now to what's probably close to being done?
Sure. And I mean, the bigger question is, I think, why do this? I mean, why do this? They're so successful with the Elder Scrolls single player experience. Like, does the MMO space need something else like this? Star Wars did a great job, I think, of providing something different. Guild Wars is an amazing game, and WoW obviously is still. I still play WoW every once in a while, but it's those types of like kind of high fantasy or even fantasy settings they're already in MMOs. Star Wars at least brought Star Wars to the table. I wonder what Bethesda's reasoning was behind this. I mean, they're so successful with the Elder Scrolls games without having to have a $15, whatever they're going to charge, but a business model where they continue to make money off of it.
They must have a business model in mind that's going to keep them making money. I'm sure they saw how successful WoW has been up until the past year and thought that they could do the same. Now, with SWTOR, they put a rumored $300 million into that game, and players have been dwindling down, so they're not getting the return that they want to see for SWTOR.
Right.
And then with Guild Wars, you buy it once and then it's free to play.
Right.
So I don't know. The only reason I could see them doing this was because they feel like they can make the most money if they make a game and then continue to support it with expansions, and that's where the most money is. But I just don't know if that business model, unless you go free to play and it's super successful, I don't know how they're going to make enough money.
I say they go free to play. I'm calling it right now. I think they say we're so flush with Elder Scrolls money. Let's provide people with a different Elder Scrolls experience. Like I'll play it. No matter what we say about this game, I'll play it because I freaking love the Elder Scrolls universe.
I'm just nervous about it.
I already know what faction I'm going to be in. I mean, I'm going to be an elf.
You know who else should be really nervous, I think,
Of
more
course.
so than you in your household, considering when you played WoW for 6 to 8 months, 5 hours a day? Your child that you ignored for 5 hours a day for 8 months.
He should be very nervous.
At that time, considering his age now, probably in an important part of his developmental cycle, you ignored him completely.
It was actually before he was born.
Oh, really? And you know why it took so long for him to be born? Because you're ignoring your wife as well. And you guys need to have sex to have the child.
Wait, what?
Basic biology.
Whoa.
You guys,
I didn't know
you know
about that.
sex. Come on, you
I
know
thought it
about
was the
sex.
whole...
It's all you imply on this show. You and the Donnell.
There's a lot of confusion in Donnell's life.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys caught that.
Yeah.
You did
But-
invite men to. Yeah, I guess biologically you may be a little different right now. But I think that's what it is, right? To get back to what we were talking about, I think free to play would. I think they blow people's mind. I mean, Todd Howard is a super smart dude, and I think he says, look, they're all they love their fans, and I think this would be like just a really nice gesture to
But
the
do you
fans.
think free to play with, you got to buy stuff to do well? You know what I mean? Like,
I think you
Well, I
free
mean,
to
there's
play,
a
but
model.
I'm sure there's some sort of like microtransaction
or
thing.
buy the
Wars
game
model.
and it's free to play. Like, how amazing
Yeah.
would that be?
Yeah,
if it was-
that's what Guild
Right.
Wars is doing.
Yeah, but I do think that what they've done is they've established that Bethesda's established that their fans are willing to play countless hours to level up their character organically.
Right.
So I could see them saying, yeah, you can do all this stuff, but I think it's probably a safe assumption for them to assume that, most people will just level through the normal way without having to spend money.
It's funny. I think a lot of people, when they're single-player RPG fans, really think, oh, wow, if this world was populated with other people, it would be really endlessly fascinating and interesting.
Exactly.
And I think that has a lot to do with why they developed it. But I have found, for me personally, the other people do not add to the experience. Like, I don't want other people in Skyrim.
Sure. Yeah, I
Like,
play
I
video
just
games to get away from people.
Yeah.
Even SWTOR, like, unless I had to get somebody, unless it was like, I'm level 12, and this is a level 11 4-people quest, though. I'm just going to wait till I'm level 13 and do it by myself.
I hated that in WoW.
I would literally
But
just
you
wait.
would play with your friends, though.
Well, I
Right,
played my
exactly.
the friends we had from work and stuff like that. But there was never a point where I never went onto
Seeked out
the
strangers.
general chat and said I never look for a group. That's my own personal play style, but I don't know. And I
agree
feel
with
like
you.
maybe we might be the minority, though, man. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I didn't mean to look at you like that.
Yeah,
that
I
was
saw.
weird. But I think we may be the minority. I think that most people playing MMOs probably do like the community aspect a little bit more.
Sure, but people playing RPGs, I think, think about the tone of Skyrim and how the solitude that you had during that game was a big part of why
Sure.
it was
And
so
you were the
awesome.
Dragonborn, so
Yeah.
you're the only one.
I mean,
That's the other thing too. Is like
I think.
I'm just gonna be some other jerk. I'm
Well,
gonna
no,
be-
I don't. Well, I don't think so. I think
I'm
you're
already
gonna,
that in my real life. I don't need this in my fantasy world too.
I think they're really going to make you a part of the community. Like, think of like building your own house inside this town, and that you
Joining
are
the guilds.
But
right.
there won't be that in this game. They've already said.
Yeah, but
But there will be
if-
guilds.
There
But
will
I see
be
what you're
guilds.
saying. There will be
but
guilds.
it's
Yeah.
that whole
Like joining the Fighters Guild.
Right.
You're
Right.
that sense of community.
But
Sure.
but the sense of community is very different than being a heroic person. Just being some dude in an organization. I mean, that's what people
But
do
that
all
back
the
to
time.
SWTOR.
That's what
Yeah,
we're doing
exactly.
right
I
now
know.
at our
There's
jobs.
probably like hierarchies, and some people are heads of the guild, and some people are officers, and all of a sudden I don't
Well,
want
then
to
you
play.
can. But then you do quests to climb the ranks. But and I mean, I'm gonna
But
bring
there'll
it
always be
back.
somebody younger and prettier, though. That's just the way
not my
things work
problem.
in the real life. I am a young and pretty person, and I don't give a shit about you, old man.
Give me a few years.
I wish that
we'll see how that works out.
before this turns into an entire half hour about this, we do have to move on to a couple other things. We're going to condense the rest of what we had planned on talking about to a couple more things. I do want to touch on Saints Row the Third and the new information there because that game was amazing, and if you haven't played it yet, it's one of the most unsung heroes, I think, of last year. And they've announced the Enter the Dominatrix expansion, and it's pretty different than what the rest of the game was. Nicole, what's that about?
So it's a standalone expansion. It's a pseudo sequel to Saints Row the Third, and basically a alien. What's his name? Zinyak wants to take over Earth. So he, correct me if I'm wrong, kidnaps the leader of the Saints Row and puts him in a virtual reality where he's in Steelport, but it's different, and everybody has superpowers, and it's open world, and you can fly, I guess.
Yeah, and you're a
So-
sex slave, I believe, as
Yeah.
well.
There is, Enter the Dominatrix, I guess.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
which to
you're-
me is maybe the coolest world ever, and also what goes on in the back alleys of Japan. If you've ever been there, this is what
yeah.
happens in the alleys of Japan.
Virtual reality
and
slave
dominatrixes.
sex.
Just like I think they're sex slaves. Like, you guys all been to TGS, right? Like,
I have
Oh, I've been
I
to
have
Japan.
not.
all right. Well, there's this amazing.
Of course, Don L's been to Japan.
Yeah, of course. There's this amazing. There are shops in these alleyways. My favorite one, anyway, is there's a shop where you walk in and there are businessmen in very nice suits, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of vacuum sealed underwear that women have already worn. And what these guys do is they go and they open up the sacks and they
Oh, dude,
they
you're
smell
killing me.
the used underwear, and if that particular fragrance is to their liking, then they buy that
Right.
piece of underwear.
Exactly.
And these men are not embarrassed about this at all. A lot of them, and they're all businessmen. They're all
Just so- how do you even decide that that's what you
foul.
want to do?
yeah.
Like-
But it's but
Well-
think about that, like the general public perception of the Japanese. And then that is what goes on. It's unspoken,
Right.
but it's definitely accepted there. And that's why that country's amazing. And that experience, that
that's the
vacuum-packed
reason.
underwear experience is what they're offering here in Saints Row the Third, I feel. Like that's what they're going.
Vacuum-packed underwear experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You guys can use that on
$29.99.
your box
Yeah,
covers
yeah,
if you
box.
want.
Also, the best jam band of all time, the Vacuum Packed Underwear Experience. Frank, change the name of your band immediately, bro. But I think it's pretty cool. I love that. Look, first of all, the price point $29.99, but I do feel like they're offering such a different experience from what
Yep.
people already have that I think it's a pretty solid price point. I think if normally I'd
Me
hear
too.
$30 for a $60 game, I'd be like, that's ridiculous. But do you guys
And
all
it's,
agree
it's
it's a
smart
pretty good
for
price?
THQ to do, I think, because I think that they're definitely still around. So I mean,
Yep.
good, so that those rumors from 6 months ago or whatever weren't true, but they're definitely looking to do better. And I think this is really smart of them to make content from the game that did amazing, the game that everybody loved, and they're going to give people exactly what they want, which is, I guess, virtual reality sex slaves in space.
Sure.
If the
Right.
if the fans want it, charge them $30 and get your money and make everybody happy.
I
So
agree. I imagine
good
that's
on
what
them.
the pitch was.
Yeah.
This is what the fans want specifically. Let's do it. But I think you bring up a great point. THQ is in a very unique position right now, where games like Saints Row the Third are what is separating them from everything else, and they can do whatever they can. Right now, they can't do any wrong because no decision is a bad decision when you're trying to regain whatever it is that you felt like you had before. So why not do this type of expansion? Not that Saints Row the Third was
done. Like, I'm sure it's just this must be so much less work.
Yeah,
it just seems like a brilliant idea.
Yeah,
but in true THQ fashion, they announced it literally 20 minutes before the Elder Scrolls Online was announced.
Right.
So, like, in true THQ,
they have had a bad run of things.
They couldn't have known.
Again. That's what I
They really released a screenshot. So there'll be lots of media for us to talk about later.
I feel like Pete Hines and Tracy, all they do is just sit there and go, let's just wait till somebody else announces something.
Exactly.
And then we'll talk about our stuff that everybody really wants to hear about. Pete, you crafty son of a bitch, you. You're a good man, though. You're a good man.
Love you.
I think people are going to buy it. I love Saints Row, and I think I'm going to pay $30 to play this a little more.
It's funny. It's such a universally beloved franchise, Saints Row. You know, it's just like everybody's like, "Oh, Saints Row, it's awesome. It's just stupid fun. We love it."
Yeah.
And I kind of love that attitude that they have. Like, it's too little in games do we see. No, it's just totally big. Nothing is too over the top. It's totally stupid, and it's awesome. And you don't see that enough. And I'm happy that they're doing something else with the Saints Row.
I just hope it does well. Like, I do like THQ and what they're like. Danny Bilson is a guy who he's thinking beyond just how to massage their current franchises to keep everything afloat. And I hope that things work out for him because I do like a lot of what THQ does.
I really like THQ games. I have a special love for THQ as a company, and I kind of don't know why. I'm always pulling for them.
You're rooting for the underdog, man.
What's the next Metro game? Is it Metro Last Light?
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking forward to seeing more for that.
Yeah.
So.
I'm looking forward to a Homefront sequel. I think I'm. I know everybody's
Say it.
totally
Say
silent.
it.
Like,
You're such a patriot.
I'll be playing it by myself. But I loved the first Homefront.
Right.
I'm the only guy.
Donnell, you seem like you have something to say about this.
Well, the only thing, can you just say the Homefront? Remember that line? Like, the enemies are.
The enemies are approaching the Home Depot.
Too funny.
So funny.
You're welcome, feedback viewers.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was
That's all
a
I wanted
magical
to
little,
say.
like, Steve exhibited a youthful mirth about him that we normally don't see. He just giggled about a Home Depot
I
reference.
did. I'm sorry. I apologize to everyone who expects me to be the serious, staid voice of reason that I usually am.
Who expects that from you?
Neil.
That's true.
Good old Neil.
Neil. All right, let's get to Jesus. We're like running out of time. So I wanted to get in. We talked about nothing we plan on talking about today, but I do want to get to some of the fan questions. Coles L4W says, these days it seems like open world games are almost always paired with RPG elements. I agree with you there on that one. Do you think open world elements making their way into even more games, or do you see open world elements making their way into even more games like Uncharted, Metal Gear Solid, or even a fighting game like Mortal Kombat? Donnell, do you see that happening in the fighting game experience?
Yeah, because it's hard to say because, I mean, you do get what they call, like, every time you win, you get these battle points, and it is some kind of, it's not really a level up your character, and now you're even better than everybody, but it does have a status of, like, you're a top player rather than somebody's, like, lower. But, I mean, I kind of already see it in Uncharted, like the multiplayer, like you can play more and then get more abilities, unlock more stuff, right? And you need that because you got to keep the player wanting to come back more and more. And same thing with Metal Gear Solid. I kind of feel like I know it's not experience point, but it was that whole developing to get better camouflage so you can be an awesome, snake that can just disappear no matter where you are. So, and then in the fighting game, I don't really see it though as a one-on-one kind of like at a tournament, like, oh, he's level 20 and he's level 16. I guess this is going to be a tough fight. I don't see it. I think it's all going to be even. They definitely like doing that, like just. What
if they had some sort of like perk system, like they because I'd
like
say 5 or 6 years ago,
Call
if
of
you
Duty,
said,
right?
could you add RPG elements to a first-person shooter multiplayer? And I imagine the argument would be somewhat very similar to that, in that, well, no, because it'll unbalance everything, but they've obviously found a way to make it work. Do you think they could apply that to the fighting game scene? I still
don't see that in fighting games. I'm sorry. In
the gems,
that is the perks in a way. But see, at tournaments, they turn that off. Like they don't allow you to do that. So I guess in a more, if you want to just play and have really, just regular online, you could definitely use the gems, and I guess I can see that more, but in tournaments, that just wouldn't fly by.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think, Nicole?
Well, the question was about open world games.
Yeah.
So,
or
sorry.
well, specifically RPG elements
Right.
that do RPG elements because they're associated with open world games. Can they be applied to these other non-open world games?
I thought the question was, can open world elements be applied to other types of games that aren't RPGs? So the answer that I thought of in my head, I don't think that narrative games like Uncharted and Metal Gear Solid can work in an open world game because I think that unless you do something with Red Dead where it's this linear plot, but I don't feel like Metal Gear Solid and Uncharted that would work. I would love to see them apply open world elements to other types of games. I don't know how it would work in fighting games. I guess you could fight whoever you wanted, whatever you wanted. But I don't know. I'm beginning to like open world games more and more as I get older, and I think that more open world genres would be awesome.
Right. So I think that we've now answered two very different questions here, but I like it because I think it provides perspective for the whole thing. So Steve, if you want to just add your 2 cents, unrelated, related, doesn't matter at this point. What do you have to say about this?
I don't think open world works in horror games.
That's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
All right, man. Why is that?
Well, I don't think you can, because exploration is a big part of open world gameplay. In a horror game, the idea is that you're afraid of exploring things, so you can't have an incentive to go look in the place where the monsters are, because I don't like monsters in a horror game.
Well, let's say Dead Island is like a horror open where they had zombies and
It definitely worked for Dead Island.
But that wasn't
But
horror.
what about Alan Wake, the latest one? Did you like the way that was a little more open?
I didn't like I did like it. I liked it as a game, but the open world stuff
Walking backwards
wasn't
now.
interesting. Like
yeah,
it was just kind of
exactly.
like,
And then in the original Alan Wake, the open world stuff was like by far the weakest part of the game for that very reason. Because like I'm not gonna go looking through this dark countryside looking for pages of a book just because I want to read the stupid books. I just don't want monsters to get me. That's all I want.
And
There's
if
ghosts
monsters
around.
are really powerful
Come
in the
on.
dark, and the only thing I can defeat them with is light, I'm probably not going to go into the dark that much.
I just wait for the sun to come up.
Yeah. I don't want to. And why does the sun never come up in that damn game, Tam? Come on, man. Well, that was a great conversation about a bunch of things that Cole didn't really ask about, but you know what? I hope that you found what you needed in that 5 minutes. I really do. Regardless, thank you for the question. I think we have time for one more question. At Cruisin' for Par, a Twitter question, which is something that you can also be using to get in touch with us. Specifically, Nicole responds to all the tweets at Nicole Z.
It's true, I do that.
Is your Twitter handle. What are some open world games that you've played which made good use of load screens? And we had a conversation about this yesterday, and we really had to think about what the answer would be. But I think it's actually a great question because when you think open world game, you think at some point things are going to be loading quite often.
At more points than you would want.
Than you would in a normal game. And mine, and I think that the only reason that this resonated with me is, number one, I love Skyrim, and I love everybody at Bethesda, but I think because I'm married to somebody who has an art degree, the fact that you can manipulate a 3D object during a load screen and take a look at the design of it and the details of it is something that stood out for me, probably because I had my wife sitting on the couch going, it's pretty interesting the way that they designed that. When you manipulate it in this manner, the fact that it holds up structurally, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. It sounds so cool that I can't wait for the next element to load. So that's something that stood out to me for that reason, probably. But anything that stands out for you guys as far as load screens are concerned?
Well, I mean, on the Skyrim thing, I didn't like the Skyrim load screen, that they're boring, but I did like
you just need an art degree to fully appreciate it.
I guess journalism, bummer. I hated them, but I loved that I could rotate it so I knew if the game froze. Because I'd always think
That's
that
funny.
this loading screen was taking so long. Why is this taking so long? And then I'd check to make sure that it didn't actually freeze on me. A few times, actually froze on me. But at least I knew. But my favorite, it's not an open world, but I know most people hated it, but I loved the elevator conversations in Mass Effect 1. I totally missed that in 2 and 3. Like, instead you just got like a Normandy like flying. Like, who cares? Like, the idea that in the future, or where, it's the future, that elevators take forever to get places and your crew just kind of like hangs out, listens to like radio, like radio music in the elevator. I just love that.
Yeah,
It
I
was
do
I guess it
that.
was
Less
missing it.
time
I
to go
do
to a
that.
different solar system.
Yeah.
than it is to go to a different floor.
It did. It
Because
did.
mass relays, we figured that out. Elevators, still working on it.
But we also don't know how much it cost BioWare to license Kenny G music, so they might have felt like they had to get their money's worth. I don't know. I don't know the business end of things, so I don't know. Also,
Like
I
the
highly
little
doubt that
announcement, like the
Kenny G
news.
will be all that popular.
In
Smooth
the
saxophone jazz. Or what is he? He plays the clarinet, right? Kenny G's the clarinet?
Yeah.
Or was it trumpet? I
No,
thought.
it's not
No,
trumpet.
no, dude.
Okay,
on.
I'm
This
not
guy?
familiar with Kenny G.
Kenny G's a wind instrument person.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I think
He
it's a
is.
clarinet, right?
I think it's a clarinet.
Why
Or-
not?
Yeah.
Also, the sweaty saxophone guy in Lost Boys is awesome. Kind of related. Steve, what about you? Load screens.
Assassin's Creed. Specifically, I like running around in a circle
Dang it.
and jumping, and then running in a circle because I always thought maybe that's what he really does. It's like sometimes he just runs around in a little circle.
Oh man.
Sure.
All right, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, good
all I
answer,
got.
Steve.
You guys took like all the best ones.
The only ones available.
Exactly. I don't see much like interaction in loading screens in open worlds, but the only one, it's not really an open world game because I play mostly fighting games, but I would say the Dragon Ball Z games. Like they have these little mini games like shoot the capsules and like
That's good.
and actually
That's awesome.
it's something where it warms my fingers up so I'm like ready to battle once it starts.
Right.
So it's a nice little like warm up before you actually battle. And I was like, this is ingenious. They're famous for that. But
Yeah.
for an open world game, I would say Assassin's Creed probably just running around. I made him dance. I was like,
Nice.
so
I wonder why people don't. I don't know the technology behind it, but like to your point, I think it'd be cool if why are there not mini games in every load screen? How hard is
I
it
don't
to? How
know.
difficult is
I
it to
heard a
actually add
rumor,
that? Ooh,
and I don't
Well, we
know if
traffic
this
in
is
rumors
true.
here, so
I know this is totally unsubstantiated, but I heard a rumor that someone owns that patent on games during load screens, and that's why.
Didn't that come up during Black Ops?
Yeah.
When Black Ops 1 came out and there was like mini games unlocked in the loading screens.
yeah.
really,
I think I remember
is this
hearing
like
that as
Bloody
well.
Mary 3 times in the mirror
Probably.
though? Like,
It's probably
is this an
totally
urban legend?
legend, but think of some other reason why. I
Right,
can't
but
think of anything why
I
you
feel
wouldn't
like
have
then I
some
can
little
just
game
like
that you
I
could-
should go and get a patent on breathing. Like,
Pending.
I mean, that's crazy, right? To think about, but that's genius if it is.
Right.
So
If somebody does own
anything's
that.
better than the Gears of War walk really slow. Like we're loading right now, and we're gonna walk insanely slow right now for 5 minutes, and with our hands to our ears.
You've clearly never
Just-
taken steroids. When those things wear off,
You're right,
you're
though.
exhausted.
Okay, because you're right though. I have
And that armor is very
missed
heavy. And every once in a while, you just got to slow things down a little
On
bit.
ya, and it's just
Take
like,
a breather,
oh.
Use your Bluetooth to
Your
order something on
Marcus
Grubhub.
is so slow already. I'm sorry, that just makes me so angry.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's going to be
I can
okay.
see the
600
anger.
pounds.
Look at that.
Well, guys, I don't really feel like we accomplished much, but I had a really good time having
We
a conversation
failed.
with you guys this week.
Fail.
Epic fail.
But again, I'm glad that we did get a chance to talk about the Elder Scrolls stuff. That was not our intention, but it is the biggest news
Popped up.
today. And I don't see anything.
Probably for the next week.
I mean, until maybe even E3. I mean, I truly do see the Elder Scrolls
Do
being
you think
the
it'll be
top.
playable?
Oh wow, that's a good question.
Well, they've been developing
For fun?
2000
Goddamn, better be.
I will.
Goddamn.
I would imagine that the people that are putting together our E3 coverage are working very hard to get some sort of gameplay on our show. And if it does exist, you will see it on our E3 coverage. We're going live next month. It's already a month
Holy
away,
moly.
which we're all very, very
month
excited
away.
about here. And
Nice.
some people are very scared.
Yeah, I'm like,
It's going to be fun. This
we're
E3 is going to
excited.
be
I'm
absolutely
excited.
great.
Yeah,
This
you
is
seem
gonna be a
excited.
great E3. I mean, this
All right.
is gonna...
To that point, since we're running out of time, quickly, one answer. What are you most excited about E3 this year? And you could feel free to reserve the right to change this opinion next week.
I'm hoping, fingers crossed, for a SWTOR expansion announcement.
All right. I like it.
anything BioShock Infinite. Anything.
All right. Good.
Dishonored. I want to
Dishonored.
see. I want to actually see gameplay. I'm
It's
actually
open
really,
worlds. Good answer. It fits into
I like
the
that.
theme.
Well done. Then I'm not going to answer at all because Donnell
No.
just closed the entire show
Boom.
with something other than the Donnell zone, which we're,
Yeah.
it still
Look
works.
at- He's like disappointed. Yeah, I could have creeped
Yeah,
the
I
dog
could
then.
have creeped the
more.
show.
Sorry,
but I
guys.
guess I'm not going
Opportunity.
to.
Man.
Good answer, Donnell.
No.
You're really coming into your
I
own
need
on this
the
show, man.
whoa weird Donnell.
No, we're good,
You're
man.
Awkward.
We're good. Well,
Don't
thank you
touch
guys.
me again. There it is.
There was, man. Who touched you to begin with, man? That's another conversation for another time. Thank you guys for being here, as always. Really fun. I love that your chair slowly sank during this episode. And that
During
you're
the show, I got much
much
shorter
better position than you were
I know,
before.
dude.
And thank you guys for
Chair.
being here. New episodes every week at g4tv.com/feedback.